Cool.
Hi girls, I have invited Sam in to talk with us today. Sam trained as an accountant and is now CEO of Coconut, which is a banking software that has been developed entirely to help self-employed people with their expenses and tax returns.
Thanks for having me.
Great to have you here. So one of the ongoing questions we get is what is kind of some basic advice you would give to people who are just becoming self-employed when they're managing their finances?
Yeah, well actually I came up with the idea for Coconut, me and my business partner Adam, when we were self-employed as well. And one of the things that we found, which is really common among our customers, is that you suddenly go into being self-employed, maybe you've moved on from a salon or whatever, and you have to start worrying about growing your business, finding work, getting clients to pay, and that should really be your focus. But there's this slow dawning that there's a lot of administration that goes with being self-employed, particularly around expenses, making sure clients pay and managing tax, and that can be quite a big burden. And so we tend to advise people when they're starting out to just do a few very basic things. The first of those is to try and separate your business expenses and income from your personal, and doing that through a separate current account. Now, when I started, I did it with a dormant student account I think I had, and that really helped me to keep them separate and massively reduce the admin burden. But it also creates a kind of mental note when you're making an expense. Is this a business expense or a personal expense? So that you can make sure that you've captured everything and you can reduce your tax bill by as much as possible, because it might not be natural when you're getting paid as an employee.
Right. And
then just making sure that you can stay on top of your invoices, and you set aside around 20% for your tax at the end of the year, so you don't get stung, because a lot of people get to the end of the year and realise actually my tax isn't being taken automatically by my employer.
And if this is your first year filing your tax return on your own, what are the first things you need to do?
Yeah, this is a really important thing, and I think there's often a mad rush in January to get the tax return filed, because actually by the 31st of January each year you have to file your tax return for the year ending on the 5th of April the previous year. So the 31st of January this year will have been for the tax return ending in April 2018. And so what we tend to do is recommend that as soon as you're through kind of mid-April, you start thinking about your tax return for the tax year that's just gone. And this is particularly important if it's your first year, because HMRC is renowned for making it quite difficult to actually get set up. And the first thing that you need to do is register self-employed with HMRC, and you can just do that through the website if you Google it. Then when it comes to actually filing, you need to register for the online portal, and that's a very cumbersome process which can take up to a month, because you have to request a letter.
Government gateway.
Yes, exactly. So you have to request a letter with a code on it to actually get authorised. And we often hear of people starting this process in mid-January, and suddenly they realise actually it's going to be impossible for me to get the letter back, so that I can't actually register. And so we would always recommend, just once mid-April comes, start the process of registering and getting set up, and then you should know what questions you need to answer, what information you need, and it'll be a lot easier when it comes to actually filing it.
Okay. And is there anything on an ongoing basis that we can advise our salonettes to do to support them with their expenses and tax return?
I think the most important thing is really just to stay on top of it, right? Because It's the kind of thing that really gets pushed to one side, and if you can get into the habit of, keeping proper records when you have an expense, when they happen, and making sure that you invoice straight after a job, and ensuring that money gets paid, then you've got all of your documentation ready for when you need it, and that's super helpful. And actually, what we've done at Coconut is we kind of identified those things, and we sort of pulled our accountancy knowledge and our kind of acceptance that us as human beings didn't really want to do our bookkeeping, so how can we create a product that actually prompts and nudges you in the right places to actually do that kind of stuff. And so the way that we do expenses, for instance, is when you use your Coconut card, you get an instant notification, and then you can capture the receipt while it's in your hand and make sure it's in the right category. But there's lots of different ways of doing that with non-products as well, as long as things are separated. So if you just remember, once you've got a receipt, take a photo of it, then you'll have to do the admin of matching it up with your bank transactions at some point, but at least it's stored and you can get rid of the receipt, or you don't worry if you lose it.
Yeah. And so could you tell us just a little bit more about Coconut and how and why it would be relevant for our salonets?
Yeah. So we identified the challenges when we actually went self-employed and became freelancers that you face in terms of staying on top of expenses, getting clients to pay, and then managing tax. And this was even though we had trained for 4 years as accountants, and we felt like actually there should be a much easier way to do some very simple things and keep things in check, and then also to understand about it in the future what your tax bill might be and get help submitting your tax return. So we created Coconut, which is a current account that you can open in a few minutes, and so it enables you to separate business from personal straight away. You just need to take a selfie and a photo of your ID, and then our team approves you. And then once you've got it, you get a MasterCard through the post, and you can use that card as your business expenses card. And what we do is we use the payments data to give you a kind of indication of whether the expense is tax deductible or not. You can capture the receipt in the transaction and make any notes, and it's all in real time. And then you can also send invoices directly from the app, and as the payments come in, they match off, so you don't have to worry about whether invoices have been paid or not. And as soon as a payment comes in, it will tell you a payment's come in, and that's quite a simple thing that people really like. And then what it does, as the payments come in and the expenses go out, is it gives you an estimate of your tax bill so that you can set aside the right amount and know how much cash you've got to spend. And then there's a report that helps you with your tax return at the end of the year.
Great. I think it sounds really interesting.
Yeah, and it's really a kind of addressing just those core problems and that we faced around relatively straightforward bookkeeping stuff, but making sure that it's really easy and really automated.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, and I'm sure we'll be having more conversations in the future. And yeah, any questions, just get in touch with us. Okay.
Thanks very much.